scared me for a second that it wasn't showing up. Okay, but I gotta fix that because it doesn't show me. Oh, I guess. Oh, but if I move this one over. Okay. So, just because not tired of gaming, but there's tons of gaming channels and things out there, so I wanted to do some other stuff today. So I'm going to be prying open these FEI Matchas switches and lubing them up because, right, where are we going? There we go. Couple reasons. One, you see enough, but I was fairly scared and worried about opening my switches up the first couple of times. And there's stuff out there, but, it's just fun to do. So, I figured I would make a video about that. I'm streaming as well, but I'll eventually put this up on YouTube. And the custom keyboard community, well, great, and there is other stuff, and just figured it couldn't hurt to have another voice in the matter. So first things first, like I said, these are FEI Matchas switches. It's a linear switch. I forget the actuation on it, but it's not heavy. It's not super heavy, but it is it's decent. Like right now I've got browns, so I bought these off a guy I met on Reddit Mech Market. Oh, and it switched for me. And I had never tried them out before, but I wanted to get something fairly quickly for a test build that I'm doing. And the guy had them, and they were a decent enough price, so I figured I would pick them up. And they're, for linear switches, they're pretty good. Pause the music to hear it, but yeah, let me see. I'm gonna pause this music here. You're obviously not gonna hear it. I'm gonna toss a keycap on one of them here quick, so you can kind of get an idea. There we go. Teha types, and then there's a couple of other YouTubers. I'll most likely do the build itself too, so you can hear them. But there are a couple. If you type FEI Matchas switches, Matchta. There's a couple of videos out there that give typing tests with these switches, and they sound great. They really do. Not what I expected out of a linear switch. And I was using browns prior to this, and browns don't necessarily have that much tactility to begin with, but nevertheless, I had used Speed Silver's ones on, I think it's like a HyperX board, and you can't even rest your fingers on the board without those registering, so I was a bit worried about these. And it is a general rule, you don't want to rest your fingers as much on linear switches, but I feel like these are going to be okay. Enough to give it a shot. Like if I'm resting, try to mimic, resting, it doesn't. The actuation doesn't even begin, so we should be good. But if you're in the market for a linear switch, or even a tactile, if you're a big fan of tactile switches, maybe worth just giving these a shot. You can get them over at Novel Keys. They're still in stock. They're limited. Linear keys just don't go as quick. I was actually thinking about substituting these and halo stems to, you know, try out kind of a different version of the Holy Panda, but I guess a Holy Makta or something like that. And I should have a couple extras, so I might give that a shot, but I don't have a hot swap board to like really get the feeling of it. So if you'd like, if your board has MX yellows, blacks, I think blacks are linear as well. Let's see. Linear. So reds, speed silvers, whites, blacks, silent blacks, linear grays. So yeah, like if you're a fan of reds and stuff, because 45 grams is rather light if you ask me, but they're not bad. I like them a lot. I can't wait. I'm still waiting on my PCB. I have my case and everything, but waiting on my PCB to show up. And everything else got shipped out over the weekend. Now, this is for if you have the actual switch separated from the board. So if you've got like a hot swap board, obviously if you're already that far into building mechanical keyboards that you've actually got the switch and you're soldering it to a board, chances are you already know how to lube switches, but just in case, maybe you don't. I don't know. What was the other thing I was going to say? If you're putting them in a hot swap board, why can I not think? Oh, but if you have your the switches already mounted to a board, you know, just like whatever standard board you can buy, this method's not going to work for you. And we'll do a. Actually, no, I think about. Oh yeah, no, it will work. You need a tool to remove the top on, like if you know, mounted to the keyboard already, which I'll show later. Mechanicalkeyboards.com has a tool that you can buy that you can take apart switches like this, and there's a few different ones. I know KBD Fans has one to make your life a little bit easier, but it really isn't that hard. It might look hard, at least it did to me. It looked kind of scary at first, but it's not. Your switch might differ slightly. Like if you have clicky switches, there's an extra piece of plastic, I believe, inside. But as far as I know, I mean, I've seen them taken apart. I don't think it would be that big of a deal. Just one more puzzle piece to fit in at the end. But it's pretty easy to keep these together. So I'm lubing these with Krytox. I forget the viscosity. I'm sorry. I do know it's high. Linear switches, you want to keep it in the 2000s. So it's a grease. If you're looking for lube, mechanicalkeyboards.com has some good stuff. As a general rule of thumb, you don't want to use thicker stuff on things like tactile and clicky switches simply because you'll lose your tactility, and you obviously, if you have tactile switches, you don't want to do that. So that's why I'm using such a high viscosity on these linear switches. I think that's it. There's a few different types of lube and stuff like that. Again, like if you've got a tactile switch, I'll kind of go over what you want to do or what you want to avoid and be careful. I'll show you how I lube tactile switches. It's quite a bit different than how I do linear switches. So we'll go over that. I'm also clipping the PCB mount stems off of these because they do come PCB mount. That was another thing that, I was like, oh no, but it's no big deal, since I'll be mounting these to a plate. So we'll get started. So yeah, if you've never opened a switch before, or you've never done that, that's what I'm gonna do. So yeah, what I've been doing is, first things, so this is one that comes with the one I just showed you already has the PCB mounts clipped. There's two little prongs there. So that's another thing to note. Most, I would say, not most, but a good portion of switches these days come with PCB mounts. Obviously, like if you're plate mounting, which if you're like early in the game, you most likely are, it's easy to clip them off, so you don't really have to worry too much. Alright, so yeah, I'm going to start by clipping these off. And then I'm using, like I said before, there's tools and things. I just use a flathead screwdriver tip. It works pretty easy. Again, if you're going to be pulling them off a board that's already made that you can't completely remove the switch on, you'll need it. You will, I mean, I guess you would need, but it's probably advised that you use a tool for those, which again, I'll get into at a later video. But yeah, if you just like, so you take, like, in between, you'll see these two clips there, and you just slide the flathead in. Let's see if I can get a good angle. This probably wasn't the best angle to do this at. Okay, let's see here. So this little middle piece here, if you just slide it in and pry it a little bit, it'll come up. And then you just kind of gotta move this back up here. No. So once you've got it open, you can kind of wiggle it a bit, and then sometimes you gotta put the screwdriver in the opposite side, and then it should come apart completely. And then when you open it up, so the spring will kind of launch the stem, if you're like pushing down on it, but if you're careful, you can get it out. So then when it opens up, that's what you're left with: the bottom part, your stem, and your spring. At least in linear switches. Again, clicky and tactile will be a little different, but this part in the front here, this little metal piece, is actually what connects to the stems down there. That's what actuates it. You want to be careful not to bend that or damage it, because then your switch won't actuate. And then your spring. And it's fairly simple. That's all there is. Again, just be careful of that front part, and you should more or less, be smooth sailing. So we'll go ahead and lube this one up. So I start with the base first. You really don't need a ton. At least I don't. I don't use a ton of lube. I just kind of like, you'll notice this bottle. Let's see. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It is more or less empty, but should have enough. Like because I was doing this yesterday and the day before, and I mean, the tip's never gonna dry, so you'll most likely want to use whatchamacallit, the same brush for. Okay. You can take out switches easily. Yeah, there is like I said, Mechanical Keyboards has a special tool to do it. If they come, I had the G513. I don't know if that's hot swappable or not. But if it is, then yeah, you'd take them apart like this. I mean, you could take them apart in the board, but so yeah, this grease will stay on your brush. So I just use the same brush over and over again. You wouldn't want to use I mean, you use a new brush, but you don't want to use you don't want to use your lube brush for other stuff. I don't know what you would use a small paintbrush for, but if you are, so I start with the base and go up the whatever you want to call that, the slot that the stem sits in. And you can do like around, so if your switch is like super noisy, if it's got like a lot of spring, like a metally noise to it, then you'll want to kind of get the base a little bit to act as like a dampener. You'll want to do the spring too. Coming from switches, the white stuff, that's the lube. That's what that is. It's a Krytox grease. Some lubes, like if you get and I mean, I could be wrong about this, but I feel like certain switches from, like, if you buy a keyboard whole, will come pre-lubed, but most like OEM switches won't. Most OEM switches will come unlubed. But yeah, I don't use, especially on the base, I don't use like enough that you barely even see it. It'll be too hard to register in camera, but like you don't want, at least I don't want to be able to see it. I feel like if you use too much, you risk ruining the switch. And then I start with the stem. Normally, I mean, sometimes it's better to use tweezers or like something to hold it in, but that's going to be the side that, or both the sides that slide into the base. So that's the side I worry about the most. Like, you do the back and stuff, if your switches are like squeaking stuff, you'll want to do the backs and stuff, but these don't squeak all that much, so I don't worry about it. I kind of just worry about the sides. I just use whatever's left over to get the front and the back. But that's this side with the clips, you obviously don't want. I can show you. It might So you'll see one side that's like kind of blank, and then the other side, that's going to be the side that fits in to where the leaf is. You want it, you don't want, God, it's hard to do. Get the right distance for it to come into focus. Will it focus that close? No. No. There we go. So yeah, the those little leaves, that's what's gonna trigger your actuator, so you don't want too much grease getting on there. And then it's time for the spring. Now, spring, like I was saying, you can go. A lot of people go pretty heavy on the spring. I don't, depending on if the spring is real noisy or not. Generally, if the spring's real noisy, I'll switch them before I lube them like crazy. I typically, when I'm putting them back in, I kind of only worry about the bottom. By the way, hi from Captain Kern 123. I have no idea, where is that at? Azerbaijan? Azerbaijan? Is that how you pronounce it? And so yeah, so then put the bottom, the part that I lubed, back in, and then you'll see the two stems, the two slots from earlier. God, I need to figure out where the best position for this is so that it'll come into focus easier. This thing is not great. Maybe if I turn the lights up, maybe it'll make it easier for it to. Maybe it'll make it easier to focus. Maybe not though. Oh yeah, it's a little better. And it won't focus in the middle. Okay. But yeah, those two slots right there, that's where you want the leaf to fit in. You also, those two side clips are going to go facing the metal clip that's inside. Need to figure out, this is a new camera placement, so it's all weird for me. Focus. This camera is not great for focusing. That's too far away, though. I guess I could try and zoom in, but you had it a second ago, Logitech. What the heck happened? Maybe. Oh. Come on. I wonder if I should use a DSLR or something for this, because well, that's another box of worms for another day. No. This thing's not coming into focus at all. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. So real up close. I didn't think it would need to be that close. All right then. You know what? Let me try this then. I'll swap them. I don't have the plate though. I need to find the plate. I guess I'd try monopod. Azerbaijan. Captain, if you're I don't know if you're still in chat, but I want to look that up because that's not a place I have ever heard of. I find it very interesting. Where'd you come from, Reddit? And I'm interested in how you pronounce that. Make sure I don't lose my spring. Okay, it's... Oh, on the Caspian Sea? All right. Wow. I bet you that place is pretty neat. Share a board. Oh, that's like... Okay. Baku. Oh, wow. That place is neat. Oh, those are neat. They look like tentacles or something. Or like a plant coming out of the thing. Captain Kern, if you're still in chat, what are these buildings called? If you happen to know. Baku, the capital and commercial hub, is a low-lying city in the coastline of the Caspian Sea. Isn't the Caspian Sea like super nice, right? I mean, I guess it has to be. Well, it doesn't have to be, but I imagine it would be. Well, yeah, hello from the all the way across the United States. Thanks for coming to check this out. Back to this. Okay, so I want to fix this so I can... I don't know that it's going to work over here, though, because then I gotta... Then I have to... Well, I gotta be easier to move it up and back and stuff. So. That's not gonna move it, though. Bear with me a moment. No, that's not going to do anything. It sucks too. I have plates for this, but I'm not going to go hunting for them right now. Of course. Let's see how this works out. Let's see, this might work out a little better. Oh, of course it's going to be in the shot. Probably should have figured this out. I didn't know it wasn't going to focus. And then if I... Yeah, that might work out a little better. And then if I just hold her up. And now you don't want to focus though. There we go. So yeah, so first off, I lubed the inside of these two, and then I lubed the bottom of the spring, which I'll go back over now that I can actually see. And then I lubed the actual stem, both sides of the stem. Come on, pick it up. No, you don't want to? Too close? Too far? Go real close? No, not at all. Huh? You're just giving me a heck of a day, Logitech. Heck of a day. So there we go. So those two, that side. and that side. Those are what like slide in and make it slide up and down the base. Now this front part here with the little clips on it, you'll notice there's two sides. One's like a flat side, this other side has like little clips on it. That's what faces the metal leaf. Okay, and that's what's gonna actuate. I'm gonna try, but this is gonna be difficult to do. Maybe I'll try to the next one now with this one. I don't wanna give my fingerprints too much. So you'll see it slides right in. It'll slide right in, see? Back, oh yeah, I guess you can. You'll see it actuate. I'll take another switch apart and so you just hold it in with the top. You take your cap. Now especially for Gatorons and cherries, I think, actually. Let me double check that, but yeah, okay. So there's gonna be on your switch, there's gonna be like a logo. So in this case, these are Gatoron switches, but cherry will have them. I think most but Halos, things like that, I don't think have any, but just verify, just check them before you open them up or whatever. There's one side, one has the logo, the other this like flattish side, and you'll see there's a hole. Like if you look at a keyboard, there'll be an LED right there. That's for most LEDs, for RGB and stuff like that. That is gonna go. So the easiest way to remember is the logo goes on the same side as the metal leaf that's inside the bottom, and then you just kind of hold it down so you can get it on. Let the top part catch it, and then it should stay in there. Line it up. And boom, put it back together. See, now my mic's all the way. See, that I don't like, because then you can't see the switch. Maybe on the other side of me. Oh boy. Alright. I'm gonna move this one more time. One more time, and we'll see if we can get underway here. I guess maybe I can try mounting it directly to the microphone. No, it's probably a bad idea. Actually, let me try. No. Yeah, why not? Yeah, let's do that. Let's try it that way. I wanted to be all cool about it with the bag and everything, but all right. So I got a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 done. I'm 1/6 of the way done. So this obviously would go a lot quicker if you're doing it, yourself, or you're, not trying to. I'm trying extra hard to make sure if there's any issues or anything like that. But I guess I'll just keep reiterating the steps. All right. So, yeah. Okay. So yeah, like I was just saying. Let's see, I should be able to get a good shot of the. I swear to God, if you're not gonna focus now. Real close, real close. Wah, wah, wah. There we go. All right, so see, you can, especially these ones, because these ones are transparent, but you can see that metal leaf up top, like we said. And then the logo. So if you forget, because it's pretty easy. You just got to go back and look at another switch or whatever. But just to make your life easier or whatever, just always remember that the logo on Gatoron and cherries. I think a Temo too. I think that those are the only ones I know. I can't talk or discuss to any other switches. Kale, I'm not sure about. Trying to think of any other ones before I move on. So in case you ever forget, and then we'll, the leaf part, which again, like you'll know. So once I take this one apart, I'll show you that if you're worried about putting it in the wrong way or anything, the stem anyway. So yeah, so again, you take your flathead, slide it in, be gentle because these are plastic, and it'll pop up, and sometimes you can get it to come apart. My fat fingers won't let me show it, but because you don't want to damage the clips. You might want to order extra too. Yeah, PSA. If you're ordering switches, they can be fragile. So like if you're doing a 60% board, most places do them in packs of like whatever. Some do them in packs in 10. I know like Mastrop does 70, 90, whatever. So that gives you the space for a few extra. But I know some do packs of 10. Obviously I think you need 61, maybe 62 for a 60% board, and then 80 for 10 keyless, I think. Don't quote me on those numbers, but figure out how many you need and try to get like 10 or so more if you can, but if not, no big deal. Because they can be fragile. Like those stems can bend. You can just bend them back, but in case you don't want to or worried, you never know. Sometimes the leaf can kind of be goofy and it won't actuate, things like that. So it's a good idea to have extras. So now that we've popped our top off again, the spring's gonna kind of send the stem flying. If you're, you can get it to come off nicely, and if you just kind of hold it, but you'll notice. So like before, it slides into. Just focus for me, please. No, almost. We almost had it there. There we go. I gotta figure out. I gotta put an X on my desk so I know where to put it. So yeah, you'll see the wrong side. You'll see that little prong in the front. See it moving the leaf? That's obviously what actuates your switch. Okay, so again, disassembling. I guess I should move this cable, but now it's going to be in the way. So you're left with your spring and your leaf in there. I'm going to take the spring out. Oh, that works out a lot better. I'm going to have to remember that. Take your handy dandy brush. Again, and some people want to make sure that it stuff's lubed. Obviously, you want to make sure it's lubed really good. But again, you're using a grease, so it's gonna stay on the brush. Okay, you're certain, and now you blow autofocus. See, this is why you don't use crappy cameras, because the autofocus sucks. And come on. Oh, there we go. So yeah, it'll stay. I mean, it's not a decent amount, but if you're using, Krytox grease and stuff like that, it's gonna stay on there. You'll get a little bit, but I literally just use, a tiny amount, like off the lid. If I need to use more, like I'll go in, I'll get a glob, and I'll kind of just wipe it around the top and kind of go from there. I hardly ever stick my entire brush in, and you know what I'm saying? So I just kind of get a little bit off this side. Oh, and I just realized I logged into my Facebook for the first time in years. Well, no, I guess years. And so yeah, like you just do the nice and easy. Again, like so you'll see down there where there's like I mean, it's fine if there's a little bit, but generally if it's pooling up like that, it's too much. You can do the bottom. So again, like if your springs are like super springy and they're making a lot of noise and stuff, you can kind of swipe the bottom, and it kind of acts as a dampener, you know, slash lube, obviously. But yeah, again, you want to be careful of the leaf because you know if it piles up, cause problems with actuation. So just like when you're done, like at whatever point, you know, and then just kind of finish off the brush down there, you know, like at the bottom, like that. Like that. There you go. I keep forgetting the camera's not up here. See, that's what stinks is the camera is in a bad angle. I gotta keep it down at a certain point. If I maybe, oh, I guess I could try and move it up, but then if I move it up, well, yeah, I'll try and move it up a little, because then, yeah, right, it catches everything. So once again with the stem, just you can see there's a little bit of excess grease on the side there, but I don't worry about that too much. Not on the stem anyway, it's gonna spread out evenly over time. Just worry about it in the actual housing itself, because then it'll pull up next to the leaf. And again, do the front and back, or well, not so much the front, the leaf contact, but the back if they're super squeaky or whatever. Oh, I forgot to do my spring. I just realized. Boing, 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 boing. Boing, 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 boing. Generally, like when you do the springs, so you can show it. Yeah, of course this one doesn't do it, but you'll get a lot of, you know, it'll, because the spring's like a sharp metal, you'll get, it'll kind of pile up on the spring. It's not doing it in this case, but that's because I don't have a ton of, let's see if I can get it to do it. Yeah, once this comes in focus here. Boing, 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 boing. Boing, boing, boing. Let's see if I can get this thing to come in focus. No, it's not gonna do it for me. Oh, there, of course it does. You can kind of see it's built up a little bit on there. This one's still super light, but I like to have it built up on the spring just in case. Kind of access, swish it around. So again, we're going to make sure that the front clip part matches with the leaf, the metal leaf. That front clip part. Put it on the spring. Slide it in. Top cap. Logo goes to the same side as the leaf. Make sure your stem doesn't go flying out. See, now you can't hear it. So good. I even clicked this one. Yeah, I did. I'll do a unlubed versus lubed here shortly. Like with linears, you don't notice it as much because they're linear, so they don't have a tactile feedback, and they're especially not clicky. So again, clipping the PCB mounts, not the metal. The metal contacts are what register your switch. So that's the metal clips. Be careful when you're doing that, because you can see how you can like make sure I'm doing this right. I gotta make sure I'm doing it right. That's if you have, so if you've got a hot swap board. Right? I probably shouldn't say that since I don't know, but I think you want to remove the PCB mount clips. This webcam, I mean, it autofocuses hard, but that might be an issue of light. But this, what is it? C. Doesn't say. It's Logitech's 1080p. I mean, that's decent coming from. And actually, I posted this yesterday, but when we had started website, like back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, we would be online, typically like AOL or whatever, but people would have to build their own websites. Like if you wanted your own blog or whatever, you had to do it all yourself. And I mean, people did that, so we wanted to do it. But generally, if you had like a webcam, you would have a webcam page, and it would literally update, and you would turn it off, on and off, but it would update once every 30 seconds. A photo, not video, nothing. Photo, and generally people would put like text, so like how you see this orange text where I have, he would write like, oh, I'm doing this, or go White Sox, dumb shit like that. I just think it's funny how far everything's come. When I was originally buying webcams to start doing this, I was worried. I was like, well, I don't want to do that because webcams suck. And I see this one. I bought the one I have on my face cam right now is 720p, and I mean it's fine. It's not great, but I gotta make sure that it's coming the right source. I think it is, but yeah, it is. Okay. Why does it sound like it's so? weird. Oh well. I don't want my audio or my music to be higher, but I also don't want a bunch of feedback. Is it? Oh, it must just be from picking up the other stuff. Or picking up from the kind of leftover feedback. And I do want to mention, because it did mention like Crytox and stuff. In regards to like lube and like other kinds of lube and whatever. I mean, if you're resourceful, you know, you might want to search and things like that, but be extremely careful. Don't just assume that you can pick up any kind of lubricant, because you got to get one that's safe for plastics. A lot of lubes, like if you went to Walmart or hardware store, Home Depot, whatever, will eat away at the plastics. So, you know, then be screwed, or it'll rust your metal or whatever. And, you know, I mean, in theory, I mean, if you really like modding your stuff, then that's great, but you don't want to take apart your switches too much. And you don't, you know, if you're soldering them to a board, you can always desolder them, but still. Now, I put quite a bit on these. So as opposed to like going back for more, I'm going to leave this alone now. I'm going to hit the bottom a little bit. You know, obviously the other side without the leaf on it. And as opposed to getting more, because I know there's still a lot left on my brush, I'm going to just hit the stems kind of lightly, because I know there's enough in the housing to cover it. You'll see I'm still getting a little extra coming off of it. Your hands can get slippery when you're doing this too. If you want, I mean, rubber gloves, but you know, so just be wary of that. Don't, you know, let one of these things go flying, because it's tiny. You'll have a hard time finding it. You were doing so good for a minute there, Logitech. What the hell? Just tell me what I'm doing wrong. I'll leave the back. I'm going to leave the front alone. Oh, this is a Sonic song, I bet. And then my spring, too. In this particular case for these switches, I'm only lubing the bottom of the spring, simply because there's a tiny bit of noise coming from them. I do want like a dull, like not a dull sound, but it's hard. If you go watch the ASMR video on these, you'll know what I'm talking about. But the top of the spring doesn't make any noise at all. Yeah. So like I said, I mean, they'll make a noise once they have a keycap on them. But that's more coming from the keycap. Oh, I love it. It sounds so good when it's in a board.